reading for your free time.
Yeah.
Sorry. It is more than I thought.
What it condenses how many hours of sitting through
You know, all those meetings and it's really good information. So, research, imagine that.
I'd like to welcome you all to the Middletown City Council meeting on February 4th. Please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll for the evening?
Ms. Vettori?
Here.
Ms. Nenning?
Here.
Mr. Moon?
Here.
Mr. Mulligan?
Here.
Mayor Condrey?
Here. Before we go to this executive session, I just thought, I could start with something a little bit motivational for everyone, so we don't just part ways right away. So I was prepping for a leadership series that I'm doing with the Middletown High School Student Athlete Leadership Team tomorrow morning, and I had this Cherokee lesson that I was going to tell them, and I thought, well, it's kind of actually relevant to the city as well, and something that we can all take on board as ourselves and as a community. So I thought I'd go ahead and read it to you guys. It's called The Fight of Two Wolves. It's an old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It's a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One is evil. He's anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other is good. He's joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person too. The grandson thought for a moment about it and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed. With that being said, under the authority of Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, I'd like a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenning?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Okay, we will return after our executive session.
We're going to go to the police training room.
ready to adjourn? Do we need to gavel this?
We need a motion
A motion.
to come back into regular session from executive session.
Okay. I need a motion to come back to regular session from executive session.
So moved?
Second?
Ms. King, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
Okay, now for our citizens' comments. We have 3 comment cards this evening. One individual had to leave early, so that leaves us with 2. I will call them in the order that we received them. Mr. Tim Henry, will you please come up to the podium? State your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Timothy Henry, 3901 Long Lane, Middletown.
Mic is on.
I have real property.
Hold on 1 second. We're going to turn the microphone on for you. There we go.
Timothy Henry, live at 3901 Long Lane, Middletown. I have rental property at 3108 Illinois. And I got a neighbor who has a junkyard right next to my property, right next to my property line. I got pictures on my phone, and I will pass that around if you all want to look at this. And I've called the police, and there's nothing that they can really do about it other than enact a fine to the man. And he's been fined multiple times according to the zoning board, and default. And I don't really know what to do about this. And I'm just coming asking to see if I can get this man to clean up this property. It is, it's a health hazard, probably rats, you know, and I don't want to lose my tenant.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
I had a chance to speak to Mr. Henry as we were walking in tonight, and indicated to him that I would like to take his phone number tonight and get back with him tomorrow after I've had a chance to discuss the situation with our zoning and code enforcement, which I think would be the people who have been dealing up to this point in time.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'd also like to thank you for helping keep our neighbors accountable and participating in the community.
Well, I don't want to be a tattletale and everything, but this is pretty bad. I mean, this is very bad.
We definitely want to look into it.
And then another thing is at the end of my rental property line, there's an alleyway there. He's got a trailer that's parked in between the alley and my yard, my property line. And I think two reasons, he could have done it out of spite, or he could have done it because he has no other room. He has tractor trailers parked there. He's got a lot of stuff.
Mr. Henry, if you could write down your phone number here, and I'll give you a call, still this week, and we'll discuss what we can do for you. Okay, you just write it up here, that'll be great.
And while Mr. Henry's finishing that up, I will call our next individual up. Thank you, Mr. Henry, very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Dan Tracy.
Hi, my name's Dan Tracy. I live at 4921 Oaks Court. I spoke to council 2 weeks ago about the land deal with the schools. There was an article run in the paper, and the day that article run, for 2 days, my phone went off the hook. I don't know about anybody else's phone, but my phone rang off the hook. So when we elect officials to govern for us, that's what they need to do. But they also have to listen to the people that put them in their offices and do what they ask, if they can in any way possible. So I'm asking, from the phone calls that I got, and I don't do Facebook. Facebook was loaded up pretty heavy from what my friends have told me. I'm asking that the council tables this. And I think, you know, let's don't get in a big hurry. Let's let's do our own thing. Let's do our own due diligence. And let's get this one right. Let's get this deal right. We've got one sitting across the street, and we got many others that weren't good deals. And I don't think we need any more bad deals right now. And this plan that we're talking about is a 10 to a 15-year plan. So what's the hurry? Why do we have to get in a big hurry? And don't let anybody hold us hostage because they want to get rid of some property. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, city manager report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple of updates I wanted to bring to your attention today. I know there has been a lot of question about the paperboard site. That property was sitting in limbo and foreclosure for a while. Apparently it was sped along by the fire. We received title to the building in January. A few tasks have to be done before it is marketable. First, we are looking at demolition of the site. You see a map measure before you later this evening to pay for the emergency demolition that was done in order to protect the safety of our fire department and to make sure there was no human life on the facility. On top of that, there have been very rough estimates that the remaining demolition of that property will cost somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million. Obviously, that is going to be a task that we are going to have to break up into pieces. We've been working to secure potential funding for that so that the cities not bear the burden of it entirely, at least. The first is waiting on the Ohio House to vote on House Bill 252, which we've discussed extensively. I feel like I've repeated it every place I've been. Asked people to reach out to their local representatives. This would provide $50 million in funding in the next 2 fiscal years to state land banks to offer grants to communities such as ours to demolish property like paperboard that's commercial and blighted. We are not unique in the fact that I would imagine every community in Ohio has some version of this type of a building where it's become a problem and now we have to deal with it. So we are looking to make sure if that's going to have any movement that we would be able to use that to at least partially pay for this site. The mayor and I had a meeting with Representative Keller a couple weeks ago to say hello and discuss some issues. During that meeting, we brought up the House Bill 252 because I keep repeating myself. She was very good listening to our concerns and also suggested we apply for some capital grant funds from the unused state budget. So I turned around and applied for those on behalf of the city, and we're waiting to hear back if the state's going to throw any additional funding at that. So we're starting to get a plan together to try and break it up into pieces as much as we can and move as quickly as we can to get this property taken down and marketable again. We will have a brownfield environmental remediation that needs to be done. We have the environmental studies. We are working also to secure state grants that are set aside particularly for brownfield money, so I'm hoping to have information on that as well in the coming weeks. The last remaining issue that we have to address, and it's unfortunate, is we are going to have to find some way to secure this property. I have an ongoing fear that there's going to be more people in that building, and I feel like we need to do the best we can to prevent that from happening. There is no foul-proof method of having that happen. Our building department has reached out to a few fencing companies to see what the best and most effective way to fence in the property. I had to write this down because I was stunned. They think, even on the good side, it will be approximately 1,900 linear feet of 6-foot-high commercial chain link fencing to fully secure the property. We have some options to rent that fencing or to purchase it. I will tell you, to purchase it, we've received a rough estimate of $37,500. I have not gotten a number to rent it because it depends upon how long we would have to have it up. Obviously, it is unknown how long we will need to have it up, so it's been a bit of an X factor. There's a cost associated with installing it and then maintaining it per month. I don't need this tonight, but I would like council to take a time and think about it and get back with me whether you want me to pursue the renting option or whether we want to go ahead on the purchase option. Frankly, I think given the timing of it, it might be one of those ones where we do better purchasing, but I would like some feedback as you're available to let me know what you'd like us to pursue, or if you have thoughts this evening, I'd be happy to take them.
I would like to know what the rental rates would be if you had a few different scenarios, maybe you gave to a rental company.
It comes into the cost to install it plus the
Right.
monthly rate. That monthly rate, obviously,
So if we gave perhaps like say it was there for 1 year, for 3 years, maybe a few different scenarios that we could at least wrap our minds around the rental.
And how many feet did you say?
1,900 linear feet.
So that's not the entire building.
This is tying in as much to the existing building as we
Yeah.
can to try and bring down the cost. If you were to try and fence in all acreage of it, the cost obviously skyrockets. So what we were trying to do is prevent access to the actual building, and it ties in as much as possible to what's existing there.
Have we purchased fencing like this in the past?
Not to my knowledge now. I can't say never, but not to my knowledge.
And would the fencing that we're purchasing be able to be reused in the future if we had similar scenarios where we would need to use it again?
That would be the hope.
Oh, I think specifically if we could find a break-even point where the rental meets the cost of purchase, that would be very useful.
Okay. We'll work on getting the information. If you have any additional questions, let me know, but to give you an update, that's where we are at this point in time. I am happy to note, there's been some questions about our economic development director job opening. I had a job posting, it just closed on Friday. We received 36 resumes, from the state of Ohio as well as, some national candidates. So we are working to, get those whittled down and set up interviews. I hope to have someone in the next few weeks for your, potential appointment. So we're moving forward with that. Last topic I would hoping to discuss this evening is every year we get, CDBG funding from HUD. It is about the time of year where we have to set our plan up for how we want to spend our money. 2020 plan year is unique because every 5 years in HUD, you have to submit a consolidated plan which says for the next 5 years, this is where we want this money to go. Our community development partners who helps us administer our HUD grants has been holding community forums and meeting with local stakeholders to see how they think we should spend the money. I would like to have a work session on March 3rd at 5 o'clock before our meeting, if council is available to that, to have you discuss with community development partners what they've seen, what their surveys have indicated, what applications have come in, and you can give us some guidance on how you want us to spend that money. Would everyone be generally available for that?
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and plan on March the 3rd at 5 p.m. to go over council's priority. I would also like to note for everyone that's here and listening, also at the March 3rd meeting, you are going to have a public hearing during the actual council meeting. So another chance for community members to come in and discuss what their priorities would be for us in spending those grant funding. So hopefully everyone will take some time to think about that and come on the 3rd and give us some input. I think that is what I have.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. All right, Ms. Kane, could you please present the consent agenda for us?
For your consideration this evening, we have to receive and file the Board and Commission minutes from the Board of Health from December 10th, 2019, to confirm the personnel appointments of Randy Newsom to the part-time position of Customer Service Lead in the Economic Development Department Airport Division, Jason Kirschner, Justin Principato, Zachary Sharp, Joshua Lentz, Matthew Queen, and Lincoln Weissman to the position of firefighter EMT in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire, Nathan Morgan to the position of Corrections Officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, Brandon Williams to the position of Maintenance Worker in the Department of Public Works and Utilities, Street Maintenance Division, Kenneth Spears to the position of HVAC, Building Maintenance Technician in the Department of Administrative Services, Building Maintenance Division, Ashley Schulte to the position of part-time Customer Service Lead in the Economic Development Department, Airport Division, Stephen Fugit to the position of part-time Line Service Lead in the Economic Development Department, Airport Division, to confirm the promotional appointment of Eric Crank to the position of Deputy Police Chief in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, to confirm the reappointment of Attorney David Cash to the Board of Zoning Appeals, to receive and file an oath of office for Aaron Cato, and to receive and file the final assessments for the 2019 sidewalk, curb, and gutter program.
I need a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kane, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
All right, I believe we have a pinning ceremony.
Yes, we do. Go ahead and hand it over to Chief Burke.
Come on down, Eric. Well, this is a special moment. This is actually my first promotion. So Eric Crank will be promoted to Deputy Chief. A little history about Eric. He started the U.S. Army in 1996, served 2 years. He then went on and went to school in that other state that we don't try to talk about. He went on to the police academy in 1994, and he was hired by the Middletown Police Department in 1995, just a couple years before I was. He has an extended background in the COP. He also was the accredited manager for accreditation in 2001 for the entire city. So he really wrote the policy and procedure manual. He was promoted in 2009 to sergeant, and that's where he's been patrol sergeant. He's done many different tasks for me, from the radios to many different things for the department. He went through a process of an assessment center, and then we had a panel interview. And with that panel interview, we required a resume, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and his vision. He will be running the code enforcement division, the traffic division, and we hope to have a COP division here, and he'll be running that under one umbrella. I didn't know I met anybody that had the same interest as me when they're at home, but Eric is the only guy that reads case law on his private time other than me. And Ashley and Susan can contest to that. It's boring stuff, but he does read it. He gives the new training officers, when they're in the FTO, he always gives them a search and seizure manual and has them read it. So I am very proud to announce our next Deputy Chief, Eric Crank. I think his wife Lynn is going to come and pin the badge on him. 24 years.
Yeah, she did. On him too. Thank you.
This is little mini me.
So cute.
First of all, I'd like to thank my wife Lynn, my son Stephen, 24 years with the Division of Police. Steve followed me here. I would like to thank all my friends, family, and colleagues that are here. There's some people I haven't seen for a while, and I really appreciate you making the drive to come down. It really means a lot. It does. It's been a long journey for all of us. I'd also like to thank the 4 other people I tested against: Chris Kelly, Malcolm Tipton, Earl Nelson, and Steve Reed. I want the city to know that you have 4 potential leaders coming up behind. They're going to be really good for the city and future promotions. And that's it. I just want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, congratulations. Okay,
Learn our lesson, maybe we'll give this crowd a second.
yeah, that is true.
Monica gets drowned out again.
Sorry.
Hello? Hello? Is anyone there?
This is my first.
Thought about giving a
Hi, guys.
half of a joke at the beginning,
Oh, okay.
then promise the end.
They're heading to dinner.
I wasn't gonna keep us in mind.
They were so patient to wait for us in executive session.
The police really bring the crowd, though. I mean,
They do know how to go in numbers.
They don't travel lightly.
all right.
Moving to council comments.
Council comments, Ms. Ninny.
Thank you, Mayor Condrey. I guess I would like to say congratulations to Deputy Chief Burke, or Deputy Chief Crank, on his pinning tonight, even though they're all gone now, so. And then I also would like to just thank city staff, Susan Cohen, for putting together our council retreat. This past weekend, we had a very productive day where we heard from a lot of department heads about some really important things that are coming up for our city. We talked about a communication strategy, and I was actually really excited to find that our recommendation to put the city council meetings on Facebook as events encouraged someone to come here tonight that I spoke with earlier. So just in an effort to share what we're doing and be a little bit more transparent with the citizens and invite them to engage with us, I think is really important and something that came out of our council retreat. We learned about the new plans for the airport and some of the possibilities that could happen there with the new master plan that we're working on with the airport. We heard from Chief Burke about the potential COP and a few other initiatives that he was hoping to work with us on this year. So just thank you to everybody who participated in the retreat and came out, and thank you for engaging.
Mr. Moon.
Thank you. Yes, I also echo Monica's congratulations to Deputy Chief Crank. Well done, and thanks for your service to the city. Two quick announcements. I wanted to mention that next Thursday, February 13th, Kiwanis is having a meeting and inviting Jim Breach, former Bengal place kicker. It's an important year for the Bengals with the #1 overall pick, unfortunately. So if you'd like to talk to Mr. Breach, come out next Thursday at noon at Central Connections. And the last item I wanted to mention is this Thursday is MIDI XL at Wade E. Miller Gym at the high school at 6:30. It's a great opportunity to learn more about our schools and just see all the great things going on with our school district. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Torrey.
I would also like to thank everyone for their time coming to the council retreat. I know that took a good deal of work, and there was a lot of great information shared. I was looking forward to the conversation on homelessness. I also look forward to joining a new coalition that Commissioner Carpenter is heading up in the county that I think will be part of how we approach tackling the issue. I was grateful to see people come and participate and engage, and I think along with Ms. Nenny, I look forward to the communications and being able to share. It's part of my spirit as a human. If you want to talk to me, I'll probably talk to you to death. And at the same time, I think sharing things like that video is a great way for us to get the information to the people. I would encourage people to engage directly with our city, both on our page or with us via email or reaching out via phone, so that you can get the raw information as opposed to perhaps Facebook, which often in other pages information gets misrepresented or perhaps put through a filter that isn't necessarily accurate. So I look forward to doing more of those videos and hopefully being able to engage with people in a very frank and direct way and seeing how we can continue to build up our community. I'd also like to encourage everyone to come out for First Friday, this Friday downtown. We're partnered with the schools, so it's the I Love Middletown event, which was really fun last year. It was a lot of art from each different school building partnered with businesses downtown, and they showcase some of the work, and the kids come down, and it's just a really good family event. So that is this Friday downtown. Thank you.
Mr. Mulligan.
Thank you, Your Honor. I add my congratulations as well to Deputy Chief Crank and the many appointees and of employees that we handled tonight in our consent agenda. I wish them many years of successful service with the city. And I'll reserve my comments as far as the real estate purchase to when we cover that in the legislative items. Thank you.
And all of the comments that I was going to say have already been covered by you all, so thank you for doing that. Less work for me. On to the legislation.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Britland, would you please present the legislation?
Yes. There are 12 items of legislation on tonight's agenda. Of those, 9 are emergency items. We'll need a motion to waive the charter provision requiring 2 separate readings as to the following items. Ordinance number O2020-04, resolution number 2020-01, ordinance number O2020-06, resolution number R2020-02, resolution number R2020-03, ordinance number O2020-07, ordinance number O2020-08, ordinance number O2020-09, ordinance number O2020-10, and ordinance number O2020-11.
just want to clarify for the record, O 2020-06 is not an emergency.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay. I move that the charter provision requiring two separate readings be waived and that the previously read ordinances and resolutions be declared emergencies and read one time only.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Gang, please call the roll.
Sorry.
We got three.
Sorry.
We do have three. Okay.
You know, you're being the.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-04, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Oleman, is it Shoot LLC for progressive design build procurement for Phase 1 of the Lakeside Redirection Project and declaring an emergency.
Need a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call. Skank?
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Yes.
Resolution number R 2020-01, a resolution authorizing the purchase of real property from the Board of Education of the Middletown City School District and declaring an emergency.
Need a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you to Mr. Tracy. I have heard from him and as well as other residents regarding this investment by the city and via email, in person, on the phone. The issue that this is not something that has come up just in the past month. This has been months and years of working with the school district because these sites, particularly in the Oakland district, the old Middletown Middle School site has been identified as a strategic piece of land for development of that part of our community. It is being sold to us as a package, so we're going to acquire 4 in total. We anticipate that while this is $600,000 and is a significant number, the city will be able to turn around and sell that or recoup the taxpayer dollars in the future. So the citizens will be made whole. As far as the criticism about the city getting into the real estate business, and I know that's a catchphrase that's been around at least for the past 10 to 15 years. Yes, it can be problematic when you have a city government actively involved in real estate purchases. But since I've been on council, we have been judicious in in exercising that right. We have not batted 1,000 with every investment, but I will point to the package of properties that were acquired through the Perry Thatcher estate. The city invested $200,000 to $300,000 for several buildings in downtown through acquisitions by third parties. The taxpayer was made whole. We attracted Cincinnati State. You see the redevelopment at the old Barnett's Bank, which is now Windermere Event Center. We have the Mid-Fed Tower under renovation. There'll be an RFP for the First National Bank building. We have Arts Central Foundation operating on North Main Street as well. So a lot of good came of that. And again, the taxpayer was made whole. With regard to the Manchester Inn, that's in litigation, so we can't really comment much on that, other than to say, yeah, that did not live up to our expectations, and nobody wanted to be where we are 4 to 5 years after that acquisition. But with this, the risk is a lot lower. We're talking about vacant land, not empty buildings, but they will be strategic, particularly in the Oakland district, to redeveloping that. So I'm supportive of this, and I think it's appropriate to do it at this time so that we can do the next step and get the RFPs out and get what will be a foundational piece of that neighborhood underway. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
I'd like to echo those comments. I think, you see it in articles. I read a lot about other towns similar to ours across the country, and especially when I went to the National League of Cities, which is the convening party for all city leadership this past fall. While real estate development is not a central focus of a government, it is a responsibility. A government will always own some land, and there are times when owning that land does make good economic sense. So to Mr. Mulligan's point, I think if you look at downtown as an example, while we may have missed on one, the other 3 or 4 that have worked not only covered the cost, but it then created an economic engine for future development. And that's what we're really talking about with this land. So specifically with the former Vale site, you're really looking at a piece of land that in the next 5 and 10 years could generate hundreds of thousands, if not into the 7 figures, with payroll tax, income tax from people that move in, sales tax from businesses that might open there. I mean, it really is a ripple effect. So nobody likes to put out a big check at the beginning, but I think when you look across the country, you look at best practices, we're not creating this. This isn't a new idea that we had. I wish we were that smart. It's really something that's happening all across the country. So I'm very supportive as well.
I would agree with my colleagues. I plan to support this as well, and I would just add to it that these properties are located in neighborhoods that were identified through our housing policy as neighborhoods in need of investment. They're strategically located, and I think in the long term, this is going to be an investment that pays dividends for the city. That's all I have.
I echo the feelings of my fellow council people on this. I think that it's an important step for us to take in the redevelopment of the Oakland neighborhood and can have a lasting effect on the city in a positive way.
Monica and I had the chance to sit down with the company about Oakland and get a great presentation from Dan and Dan. And I'll tell you what, I really do believe in the Oakland project. I think, and projects like it, I think it's got a lot of amazing potential for our city. So I'm all in on the concept of Oakland. What I currently have a problem with this is that we're looking to spend over $500,000 of our citizens' dollars, and we did not get these properties appraised. I've spent countless hours. I've lost sleep over going through every page of every single one of these appraisals, and every single one of them has an intended use and user statement that says no party or parties other than Middletown City Schools may use or rely on the information, opinions, and conclusions contained in this report. This is a request by the appraisal company for the school district to get approval to share these appraisals with other parties, which is rightfully done to reduce liability in this case. And what's an appraisal at $400 or $500 for each property? I feel like when we're looking at spending this amount of money that we owe it to get our own appraisals on it. The other part is, first of all, I'm not sure, I will inform the citizens, there's one property on here. If you have looked at the documents, the Oneida property has a cell tower on the property. I've looked into, Susan knows I've been all digging into all this. The current lease on that has it renting at $990 now a month. So it brings in about $11,880 a year, which should, and by my math, cover the maintenance of all of the other properties that we don't really want. That is one positive piece that I found, and it looks like that lease will continue, but that is why that property is valued about twice what it would normally be when you look at the price per acre on that one. I understand that there is a potential that there may be interest in purchase from a third party of some of the land that we don't really want for this project. I think if we have potential buyers for those, that maybe I would request that we could have an executive session about that and discuss the potential purchase prices or anything like that. I just have a hard time believing that someone wants to pay more than property value for it, because I've been told that it would pay for the other properties. Because the other piece on all of these appraisals is that every single one of these appraisals, when it comes to the highest and best use statement, it says development of, and it's either an industrial or multifamily use property, right? 3 of them are multifamily use, 1 is industrial. It says development of multifamily or industrial use is not financially feasible at the current time, and it's referencing all of these properties. It says there's limited demand for new development, and a newly constructed multifamily use would not have a high value commensurate with its cost. Now, it does say they expect the market to recover. I'm looking at putting a lot of our citizens' money into things that the appraisal says it's not a good investment. I just would like to see us get our own when we spend that much money. So that's really the nexus. Let me make sure I don't have any more comments. Yeah, I'm committed to the success of the Oakland project and moving Middletown forward, and I want to push it forward. I just also don't want to rush into it. So those are my comments. Okay, any other comments to finish? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
No.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Measure passed.
Ordinance number O 2020-06, an ordinance repealing ordinance number O 2019-94 in part as it relates to the transfer of 315 Garfield Street to the Butler County Land Reutilization Corporation. Here for a second reading.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments? Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Resolution number R 2020-02, a resolution requesting the auditor of Butler County to advance to the treasurer of the city of Middletown, Ohio, taxes assessed and collected for and on behalf of the city of Middletown, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on this one?
If I may, this is a matter we put forward every year. Butler County collects taxes on our behalf. They pay that to the city in 2 installments. By passing this, you're asking for them to pay the money sooner, so it just puts the money in our pocket more quickly than it would be on their schedule.
Definitely begs the question, how many people don't ask for this? But any other comments? Okay, Ms. Skank, you please call the roll.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Resolution number R 2020-03, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency. The Community Development Act Escrow Fund and Community Development Act 1974 Fund.
We have a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on this?
I'd like to provide a little explanation of what's going on here. We discussed earlier about the paperboard fire and the need to appropriate money to pay for demolition that was done up to this point in time. Without going too far into the history, the city has some funds that have been sitting in an escrow account from the days when we had a revolving loan fund for home improvement. We had about $300,000 that was sitting in that account with the intent for some projects later in the year. Due to the emergent nature of this funding request for the paperboard partial demolition, we're asking to move the money from the escrow fund to a fund that we can spend. The next piece of legislation would be then appropriating that money to spend for a contract with Vickers, who did the demolition work. This is repayable, reimbursable money from the CDBG HUD grants that we had used previously. It's considered limited income. We can only use it for particular HUD reasons. With the emergent nature of this request with paperboard, it becomes a HUD eligible expense. We'd like to use it now. That way, when we get to the end of the year, we have the other potential demolition, we can use it a little bit later.
Thank you.
And this was not a loan, right? There's no interest.
This is our money. We had it sitting in escrow from our previous RLF income, the revolving loan fund income. We had earmarked it to be used for the Lincoln School demolition later in the year. We're choosing to move that forward a bit, and then when we get a better estimate on Lincoln, we'll be able to fill any gaps later that may come.
Will this delay the demolition of the Lincoln School project or have any effect on the timing of that?
I don't believe so. We've been saving money with the anticipation that it would cost about that much, but we don't have an exact cost. So the idea is we'll use this money now to pay for this expense, and then when it gets to the point where we need to get hard numbers on Lincoln, either we'll have enough money or we'll be in a better position to decide what gaps we can fill this year.
How are we determining what part of the demo is happening first?
This is for what we're spending money on?
Yeah.
This was the emergent nature when the fire actually occurred, and Vickers had to go in and remove some walls for the sole purposes of access from the fire department to get into the building. It was protecting the safety of the fire department as they were going into the site. So they did the demolition as it was necessary to extinguish the fire, and that was working together with the demolition crew and the fire department. Making
Safety.
that determination, yes.
Okay.
fire department said I need to get into a certain area in order to do it safely. They took down exactly what they needed to do to enter safely. So this first one moves the money to a spendable account. The next one would appropriate it to the contract with Vickers.
Thank you. Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-07, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Vickers Demolition for demolition of buildings at 300 South Verity Parkway, also known as the Middletown Paperboard Site, and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments? Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-08, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Management Partners to facilitate the search for a new city manager and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
This is the award for the contract for a recruiting firm to help at our city manager search. We received 6 bids. The bids are a bit difficult to read because it provides a price plus costs. This price was the 3rd lowest set price, but it included more costs. So we believe all said and done, this firm will be one of the lowest cost options. We were also choosing this one because it did provide a local Cincinnati-based recruiter who actually has some experience being a city manager in this area, and we think we'll be able to provide the best service for the city moving forward.
Any other comments? We're excited about this. So, Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-09, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Industrial Scientific for the use of air monitoring equipment for the Division of Fire and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments on this one?
This involves a contract with Industrial Scientific. We've been working with them on a month-to-month basis. We're asking to enter into a new 4-year, 48-month agreement. It'll allow newer equipment to be placed in service with the fire department, so our air quality tests. It is a 6% cost reduction compared to the month-to-month program because they include some additional services about gas calibration. This is the only company, in my understanding, that does this service and it has maintenance initiation monitoring, so it allows the fire department to do some tests and cut down administrative costs that we would have otherwise incurred.
Any other comments? Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-10, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an amendment to a contract with Jess Howard Electric for the replacement of the airport taxiway lighting system and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
As we were doing our improvements at the airport, they're requesting 2 change orders with the grant system. This would be city funded. Looking about $6,354 in additional costs that they found as they were installing electric at the airport.
Any other comments? Ms. Gank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes?
Ordinance number O 2020-11, an ordinance consenting to real property tax exemption pursuant to RC 5709.08, applicable to property owned by the city of Middletown and more particularly described as Butler County Auditors, parcel number Q65110260000021, and declaring an emergency. However, no action is requested until February 18th, 2020.
This is a property that we've been working to do an audit of all the city-owned properties to make sure we're receiving our 100% tax exemption that we are due. This is a property that is in a TIF. In order to use your 100% exemption instead of the TIF, you have to pass legislation that effectively prioritizes the 100% exemption over the TIF money. So this is just to save taxpayers money paying other entities' property taxes and prioritize that 100% exemption.
Any other discussion about that one? Okay.
Ordinance number O 2020-12, an ordinance amending chapter 892 motor vehicle license tax of the codified ordinances, here tonight for a first reading.
This matter, we've had some discussion about, there was a state law change that allowed the municipalities to increase motor vehicle registration fees, our portion of it from $5 to up to a total of $10. There is a limited application of what you can do with the extra money. We've heard from council some expressed interest in using that to pave the additional eligible streets. So this would bring in additional funds to be used for paving the eligible streets. Then those are included in your packet, what's eligible. I had received some questions from council about the potential of including a sunset provision. Had Mr. Yoder and the folks at Frost Brown Todd confirm that that was okay. So this is currently written to go into effect and need to be reauthorized in 2024 if it were to continue.
So 4-year sunset.
Yeah, December of 2024.
I just had a question, and it's more for my colleagues and for staff, because I think it's important that if this is passed, that staff understand what our intention is. My question would just be, is it our intent with this to supplement what we already do, to not decrease what we pay currently from our general fund for roads, and this is to add in addition to it? Because my fear would be, while we certainly would statutorily have to pay this for roads, that we could then reduce our general fund obligations, what we currently do. So I just want to make clear to staff what our intention is while we're considering this. Because that would be my intention.
I agree.
I would second that for sure.
Additional.
We certainly have that note, and certainly when you see the budget every year, you're approving that paving amount every year, and so we'd be having accountability each year to be able to confirm that when you affirm the budget every year.
Yes and no. I guess if it were additional every year, I mean, we have a baseline of 3.4, 3.7, so I don't know what the current number looks like for 2021, 22, 23, 24.
I believe we're sitting at 3.7 for 2020 at least,
Okay.
and then we would lay that in every year moving forward.
All right. Well, and the sunset provision could be 2 years, right? I mean, to keep council and staff accountable for the additional.
I have no problem addressing this as regularly as needed to keep accountability.
I agree.
Whatever you would like to see happen, we had mentioned 5 years previously, so we went ahead and laid that in. But if you'd like us to change that, we certainly can.
I like the idea of 2. I think it's reasonable.
I'm good with 2.
Okay. You will see that back at the next reading.
Thank you.
Resolution number R 2020-04, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2020. The sewer fund here tonight for a first reading.
This is some staff changes. We've had some retirements and promotions. There is an opening for a position of Public Works Leader. That has previously been in the Water Department. Given our consent decree and our long-term control plan, we think that's going to be better served to be moved to the Sewer Department. This actually just moves the funds from one location to the other so that we can put it in the Sewer Department to address that long-term control plan and the staffing needs.
I personally appreciate the strategic and timely request of Public Works and Utilities on this one from Director Tadish, so thank you for that. That's it. No further discussions. We'll adjourn until 18 February 2020 at 17:30, which is 5:30 p.m. in these chambers. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.